this is exactly what it looks like. I'm going to now fill out a list based on the popular tier list maker site of all the GTA Online weapons. And yes, I was very inspired by a YouTuber who also made a list, who I'm a member of his Discord, and who completely and utterly failed to ask anyone out of the large pool of competent PvP players he could have asked for the opinion on it, or even better, the actual stats, because we all know mathematical statistics absolutely beat anyone's opinion. So let's start with it. Firstly, this is a horrific template. Not because of the images, those are very nice, but because of the tiers, obviously. So let's rename them. First S, A, B, C, D, and E. Secondly, there are quite a little too many. So let's start with the ones that are absolutely necessary for infantry combat. So this is your typical fight against another opponent on the ground. So both of you get out of your vehicles or just decide to shoot each other, grenade each other, rocket each other. Here, and the weapons in the S tier are those which if you don't have, without those you will be in a huge disadvantage in the combat. So you will literally lose because you don't have these. So the A tier ones. These are optional infantry combat weapons or anti-vehicle. So these are the weapons you don't necessarily need, but depending on your playstyle, preferences, or even the terrain, because as I will explain shortly, some weapons are pretty useful in certain terrain, unlike others. These ones are basically always useful in basically every terrain. These ones might be very terrain dependent. For example, something like swimming, yes, you can PvP each other in the water. That is exactly an example of a very niche environment where you might care about them. B tier are downgrades of A or B tier weapons. So, for example, commonly something like a Heavy Sniper Mark 1 is a downgrade, obviously, of the Heavy Sniper Mark 2. So they will go into the B tier. C tier are let's call them optimal, or at least from what I could gather from watching a lot of people and even trying out myself a lot of combat against the NPCs. So these are the optimal PvE weapons. D tier are downgrades of C tier weapons. So these are going to be the weapons you can use for fighting in PvP or PvE, but they are worse than the C tier options. And E tier are, well, not even the NPCs let you kill them yet. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Also, I think one thing here, or vehicle. sorry, this should be like anti or for vehicle. Because there are also drive-by weapons in this game. We'll go over those as well. Excellent at past Control S. So let's go from the top to the bottom. I don't even remember all the names. This is a assault rifle. I think it's the special carbine or something like that. Doesn't matter. Melee weapon. AP pistol. This one is optional because this is one of the better drive-by weapons. I'll explain the rest of them once I get to them. Another assault rifle. This one is actually, by the way, worse. I'm not going to sort them from best to worst, from left to right. You will see, it doesn't matter. This is, I think this is the Mark 1 or Mark 2 version. Ridiculous. This one, very good. This is the fully automatic. Sorry, all guns are fully automatic, but this is typically referred to as the auto shotgun. It's called the, I believe, combat shotgun or auto shotgun in the game. It's the one that fires really quickly, has a really large magazine, and does basically just as much damage as the other ones. Really effective against bots because you only hit them like with one pellet into the arm and they fall over. At least most of them. So very useful. Another SMG, assault rifle-ish thing. Melee weapon, melee weapon. Sorry, actually this one goes here. This is a downgrade of a better weapon in the water. Assault rifle, another shitty melee weapon, another shitty assault rifle, another shitty assault rifle. Very slow firing shotgun, melee weapon, assault rifle, assault rifle. If you are wondering why the assault rifles go here, they all need like 10 shots to kill you and fire like 500 to 600 rounds per minute. If you ever played something like Battlefield 4, where you have guns that kill you in 5 shots and fire 900 RPM, you will know why 10 hit kill with 500 or 600 RPM is terrible. These weapons, you can basically buy ammo for rockets or explosives, point the rocket launcher at your feet and ammo before the guy can kill you. That's how slow they kill you. These things basically never kill you. And they also have extremely limited range. That's the biggest problem with the PvE weapons. Someone just needs to stand something like 60, 80 meters away from you, and suddenly all of them are useless. Not to mention the better ones just completely out-DPS them. Pistol. This is the Combat MG Mark 1. Still a downgrade. The Combat MG Mark 2, however, is a pretty good PvE weapon, because, if I remember correctly, it fires faster than the assault rifles, still is a one-shot to the head, but also does more damage. So this is a little better in every way. And it's more accurate, or at least similar accuracy, since basically all of these guns, basically all the guns in this game, unless the shotguns, have almost perfect accuracy with the first shot. So if you aim at the NPC in their head, left click and you will hit them in the head. This one has more ammo and needs less body shots to kill, and I think it even fires faster. Literally no reason to use any of these. SMG. This one can be actually no, this one cannot. Some of the SMGs can be used for drive-bys. This one, the EMP launcher, I made a video about. This is, in my opinion, an optional anti-vehicle weapon against things like the MOC. The compact grenade launcher is an absolutely necessary S-tier weapon. We'll get to the other grenade launcher and I'll explain the difference between these two. Another random assault rifle, melee weapon, revolver, terrible shotgun. This one apparently is slightly better than most of the assault rifles. Still doesn't matter. Doesn't even come close to a combat MG. This one is, funny enough, a downgrade of the PvP weapons, because this thing can ragdoll you if you get hit by it. So this technically can one-hit kill a player, because they get ragdolled and then they're basically dead to all anything else. You're even fucking stabbing. Fists, same story. This one, optional anti-vehicle in-vehicle weapon, funny enough. This is something you can use in armored vehicles to fire outside when, for example, a Mark II or even a Tornado or a Deluxe or anything that has missiles goes after you. You can fire these, deflecting their missiles, making them not hit your vehicle, but anything else outside. All of these are melee weapons. Grenades. This is technically also a downgrade. This is basically a much worse sticky bomb, but it can still one-hit kill people. I see my chances with grenades maybe even better than with most rifles in this game against a player, at least in certain situations. Now we get to the grenade launcher. Why is this so much worse than this? This one, when you die with, you only lose a single shot. This one, you lose all 10 rounds when you die with. That means with this, you have to buy ammo 10 times more often due to deaths than with this one. If you are wondering, why don't the difference in fire rate, why does that not matter to you, Adam? Because you should always do the reload cancel, where you switch to, for example, grenade or sticky bomb, and then you switch back to the grenade launcher to fire, since it's faster than both of these can fire. So, yeah, the fire rate ends up being the same, but this one loses you way less ammo. And it actually takes up less of your screen, which can be sometimes important for fighting people who you don't exactly know where they are. Or some of them can be off radar. So seeing some car approach at the edge of their screen might actually save your life. Another ridiculous SMG. More melee weapons. More guns. This one is a downgrade of the Heavy Revolver Mark II, which is probably the best dry fire weapon. You can two-hit kill people with this into the body and even at the maximum range of the revolver. Most of these actually reduce range. So something like the AP pistol we have here can only one-shot you up to, I don't know, something 20, 15 meters, very short. And of course there are helmets against that. This thing two-shots you at any range it can damage you at. And of course it still can one-shot you when you don't have a helmet and you are very close to it. This one is obviously a slight downgrade. I think it does less damage and is less accurate, but other than that, it's very slight downgrade. You can totally use these ones interchangeably. You probably won't notice 9 times out of 10, or 99 times out of 100 the difference. Another pointless assault rifle. This is the shotgun that fires slugs. Completely pointless. This is obviously a downgrade to the S tier heavy sniper. Mark II. Why is this a downgrade? First of all, it doesn't get the thermal scope. Second of all, it doesn't get the muzzle brake. And most importantly, it doesn't one-shot people. If you have both BST, this is actually less of a downgrade because both of them two-shot each other. When both of you have BST, it's a two-shot to the body, since you barely survive. So this is actually less irrelevant when your opponent is fast at equipping BST. It's still worse in every way. The thermal scope on this is just really powerful, and especially due to a change they made recently. I might go into that in a video where I explain the full loadout. Homing launcher, S tier weapon. This is the weapon I have the most kills on my old character, by the way. It became less powerful due to the changes that removed flawless widescreen, allowing you to have very high zoom with it. But it's still incredibly powerful. The rockets fly very quickly, they are incredibly accurate, they one-shot people. You don't use the homing, by the way, for anyone wondering. The only annoying part is it only has 10 rockets, so you have to buy them very often. This is probably worse than melee weapons. This is another downgrade weapon, because these two, ironically, are worse at killing people in the water than the one I'm showing you right now, and that's the knuckle duster. Funny enough, this is the best weapon you can have while swimming. It 2-hit kills people. Even on the ground. If you ever tried melee combat in this game, this is a 2-hit kill. And you can use it in the water. It also has different shapes, which kind of is funny. Useless melee weapon. This thing, one of my friends for some reason considered really good. I'm not even going to really bother with these. Like, technically these pistols... Okay, I'll put it here. I guess these ones might be worth, at least the automatic ones. But some of these, like, yeah, these pistols can be used as drive-by, but they're so much of a downgrade, I don't think it's even worth putting them here. Really, like, this is, I think, 4-hit kill or something like that, or really bad. This is also technically a downgrade, because I think it 2-shots like the revolver, but it fires slower out of a car. This thing, ironically, is one of the lesser downgrades, similar to, for example, the revolver, over the Marksman Rifle Mark II. Notice it's not in S tier, because it has much less zoom than the Heavy Sniper, which the Heavy Sniper is absolutely necessary when the enemy is far away. This is optional. Most useful part about this is when you, again, have both PST, you can hit each other once with the Heavy Sniper and then switch to this one, but this only has very limited range due to the zoom. Again, severely limited due to the change in flawless widescreen, not allowing us to zoom in. Difference between these two is almost negligible. This has slightly less recoil due to the muzzle brake. They have the same scope. And same shots to kill, same magazine size, same fire rate. What is also notable about the Marksman Rifle is Mark II, is you can have AP ammo, which I mentioned. It can one-shot people to the head, which could make it an S tier weapon, but I still don't think it's worth this spot. It's way too difficult to use for most people, and even then it's kind of limited. Technically it's the best. At a certain medium range, this technically wins against the Heavy Sniper, while these ones are, for example, not possible to use. This is some other MG. This is also technically a downgrade. This actually fires pretty quickly, so it's not that terrible. Again, this is actually an A tier weapon, not an S tier one. And I'll tell you why. The one thing, there are two things, sorry, that you can use with the combat MG. Or maybe three. The two relevant ones are that you cannot do with most other weapons. You can fire people, again, around corners using third-person view against people, and you can fight using this third-person view on hills. There's a large portion of the map that's covered by hills, and when both of you are climbing a hill, your ideal situation is looking through third person, zoomed out to the max, and trying to minigun each other's face off first. However, firing grenades in that situation is oftentimes just as viable. So this is not necessary. But it is incredibly good against also armored vehicles. One of the few things you can do against many armored vehicles. You can try to heavy snipe them, or marksman snipe them. This is usually way more effective. Same, this is actually an interesting downgrade, because I think it's the fastest firing one. So theoretically, this could compete with the AP pistol. So, yeah. However, it has a very small magazine. Even the extended one is very small. And we'll get to another one. Let's change it. I'm putting this one here as well. I'll show you why. This is, I think, still a downgrade. We have tested this with my friends, and yeah, the one I'll show you is just better. This is not even a PvP weapon, this is horrible. This is technically a downgrade of the Heavy Sniper, which you fire in hip fire, at medium range, but it has limited range, and it's just kind of worse than the heavy sniper. It's also a two-shot. So yeah, like, why would you use it? But it's probably still way better than most of these weapons down here. This is also the two-shot revolver, if I remember correctly. I think the gold one is four-shot, and this is a two-shot one, so it goes here into the downgrades. Melee weapon. This is a joke, but I think it can kill NPCs to the head. This is also a downgrade, because this can one-shot people. It has, I think, smaller radius than even the grenades, but I think it explodes faster. Then the melee weapon. These are just all downgrades. Funny enough, though, some of these are a little worse than the starting pistol because they fire slower. I have to put this here. It fires really slowly. It's basically a worse marksman rifle. And it also fires slowly, so you have to... I think you can reload spam it faster than it fires normally. Yeah, you still win against these guns, but it's pretty bad. Again, you can kill people with this by throwing it directly at them, but not great. This is also a PvE weapon. However, this one is a downgrade. Even with the explosive slugs, it's kind of just worse than the railgun will get to. Basically, there's no reason to use this over the railgun. Other than if you're on controller, I think you can use the aimbot, but just please play it for aim. Just actually get good at the game. And here we go to the railgun, which I think is actually an A tier weapon, not even S tier. Some people would disagree. I would actually disagree with this. In the past, when we had flawless widescreen and we could use the same zoom on this as on the heavy sniper for sniper dancing. Since this was basically a guaranteed one-shot, since of course it ragdolled you, now I think it's not even an S tier weapon. This is actually not necessary. However, it's a fantastic counter to Mark IIs, where you can, well, it's not a rocket spam, it's railgun sable spam or railgun projectile spam, I guess you can call it. With good aim, you can destroy Mark IIs with this. If you have seen the video on this. This is hard to tell. This is technically does more damage to vehicles, but I don't think there is ever a case for it. Because the railgun also counters a lot of the vehicles that the homing launcher doesn't kill very quickly, like some cases like the Night Shark, for example. However, these rockets are so slow, you basically never hit a moving vehicle with this repeatedly. And if you do, the enemy was just so bad, you would have just as well killed them with these anyway. And of course, you have the EMP, which you can hit them with, and then you can unload into them. So PvE weapon. This, again, PvE weapon. This is actually a downgrade of the heavy sniper. It's not that terrible as you might think. I think this is a two-shot, and it fires slower than the heavy sniper. But you still get the advanced scope, you don't get the thermals either. But technically, it's not that much worse. Like, most people I fight, I would probably win against with this thing. Out of those people that even realize they are supposed to use a sniper in this game. This is a joke as well. These are, yeah, basically shoot unarmored NPCs in the head weapons. All of these. If you actually want to hear my opinion, I think the Mark I versions of most of the assault rifles are better because they can have bigger magazines. Unless you are doing the reload cancels thing, that might actually put them over the other ones. Because, like I said, best way to fight NPCs is just tap fire their faces. I guess against the more armored ones, the Mark II ones are better. This is an S tier weapon. Not necessarily because the weapon itself. It is an insanely good weapon for throwing out of vehicles and to fight against vehicles sometimes. It is really good for also the sort of fighting on hills I mentioned. One of my friends, Joey, is very good at using these in combat against me. The most used thing, part of this is actually for rocket spamming. So theoretically, it is interchangeable with the other weapons, but this is typically the one that's mostly used because it's not in the heavy weapon slot. I might look into it a little if it's possible to use other weapons. I know you cannot use your fists for rocket for reload cancel. You might be able to use, if it is even here, the atomizer for it. So theoretically, you could maybe play without this by like switching between these two or these two very quickly. So yeah, maybe it's actually an A-tier weapon. If you have your macro set up properly, you might be able to. Melee weapon, even though it's one-hit kill, it's useless. Again, this is basically a melee weapon. This is actually not the worst of the shotguns, but still, just why ever use anything but this one? Downgrade. This is the best dry weapon, other than the revolver. Some people think this does way too low damage or something like that. No, it's the same shots to kill as the AP pistol. It fires a tiny bit slower than the AP pistol, like 5% maybe. However, it has a 60 round magazine, unlike the 36, and it's much more often the case that the bigger round magazine matters while you are like driving two virtues side by side and just pumping rounds into each other. The one who needs to reload is at quite a disadvantage over the guy who can continue firing, much more than the small increase in fire, which is kind of crazy to say because for most games that will not be the case. But in this game you need so many shots to kill oftentimes. I'm not even sure what this is. Probably not even the NPCs will let you kill him. Same with this thing. It's basically just a worse stone hatchet. This is potentially an optimal PvE weapon. Maybe even better than the combat MG. But it is less powerful. So these ones are fairly interchangeable because this one doesn't need to reload. But I think it's less accurate and does less damage. So it's kind of like with the rifles for this. I'm not an expert. I would say these ones are basically interchangeable. And I think this one is just uglier. So yeah. This one, I would say, is for pretty optimal. Why? This is a tool for getting vehicles unstuck. Many times I have gotten into a situation where something like the Oppressor Mark 1 fell over and I needed to get unstuck, and I was a CEO and switching to the MC will take a while. This also doesn't consume any ammo, so it doesn't increase the list you have when you are buying ammo. It doesn't give a new category to it. So this has basically no downsides. And you are not switching to pistols during ground combat. It can't even be used on vehicles. So it basically has no downsides. So that's why this is a pretty A option. For example, the flare gun actually has downsides because it adds another thing you need to scroll through. This one is a downgrade weapon. Why? It's basically the minigun, but it is more visible by itself. Like, this is harder to spot than this. And you have also the giant red lasers, which are also easier to spot than the minigun rounds. Yeah, and we are done with it. So yeah, pick these three every time, then pick out of these the rest of these for your loadout, whichever ones you want. And that's about it. If you want to do missions, use these three, or at least two of these. So the combat shotgun or one of these. Theoretically, you only need one of these. The combat shotgun is a little less versatile because, yeah, you can't really one-shot people to the head with it at distance. Also, when PvEing, you can also just use the tactical SMG here, which is basically just as good. Like, I think it might even fire faster than the combat MG. It one taps people to the head, so that's kind of why assessing what is the best PvE weapon is just so ridiculous, because you just see 5 enemies and tap once each of them in the head. That's the by far most effective way to kill them. The only case where for the shotgun is like when you are way too time constrained. Like in some cases for the cryo, perhaps you need to enter a room full of dudes aiming at you. In that case, you might not have the time or cover to slowly shoot each other. Sorry, slowly, methodically shoot them each in the head, which is technically slower than just, I don't know how to say it in English, hip firing down across the room with the fast firing shotgun hitting each of the NPCs with a couple pellets and making them fall over, at which point they are just as good as that. The explosives are, well, of course, PvP weapons because they one-shot people. You can totally use the downgrade weapons in this list. Most people in GTA are not competent enough. That's why most people can make this list. They have never faced someone who is competent enough, or have never even understood they face someone who is competent. Most people I fight don't have no idea what I'm doing. You can even Google my name on YouTube and find a guy who thinks I'm some kind of hacker or something like that. He thought I was a hacker because he jumped me with 4 other people, and I simply railgun and rocket spam them. They were still up on me, of course, because there's just no way due to the Lancaster Square law to win a 1v4, especially when they start using vehicles such as the Mark II. And it's kind of funny how most people don't even understand combat. Like, it's insane. Like in something like CSGO, everyone knows they're supposed to use the AK or the M4 with the AWP or something like those combinations. In GTA, I would say maybe 1% of people even figures out the S tier weapons, which one they actually are. I would say maybe 1 in 1,000 GTA players could make you this list. Maybe even less. Maybe even 1 in 10,000 or 100,000 could figure this out. Especially the part with the beating each other up underwater. I actually didn't know that before I attempted to make this list, and I actually had to test that. I was for the longest time using the knife. I never realized the knuckle duster was actually more powerful, and it just makes no freaking sense. Like, why would it be less effective to stab someone than to hit them with an ineffective piece of metal? Whatever. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Please share this, but of course, if you don't, better for me. Honestly, every YouTube video, every guide that gives the wrong list to people is better for me. It makes my fun a lot higher in the game, because instead of fighting people who understand what they are doing, I get to shoot people like Minecraft zombies who have no idea how to fight me. That's how it oftentimes feels to play GTA. So yeah, if you don't hate me, please don't share this. Make my life easier. But if you want to actually help your friends and become better, give them this. It really simplifies the game down, makes it much easier to understand out of the, I think here's the explanation, 102 weapons that you basically only have like 10 options, or whatever this is. This is 7, yeah, so like 13 options. Sorry, 3 you need and 10 options. Yeah, so I actually said it correctly first time around. And I hope this really helped you. Please like, comment, subscribe, and have a nice day.